This clip is for you if you think Max Verstappen is going to struggle at the Singapore Grand Prix. Now, Max Verstappen is coming to Singapore on the back of back to back wins in Baku and Monza, but the track at Singapore is quite different. It's not your typical low downforce track like we had at Baku or Monza. Here it is high downforce. And this has led to a lot of fans thinking that Max Verstappen is probably going to struggle here because Red Bull struggled at high downforce tracks like Hungary and Zandvoort. What if I told you that was not the case, and counting out Max Verstappen at Singapore it's probably foolish. So first of all, a gentle reminder, even in 2024 when Red Bull was struggling, Max Verstappen would finish second in the race. Again, yes, he was around 20 seconds behind Lando Norris, but he was also 20 seconds ahead of Oscar Piastri in that particular race. So it's not all lost. And this was last season when Red Bull, they were in disarray. They did not have a clue of what was going on with the car. This time around, they have a car that they've developed, by the way, and they do seem to have a much better grip of how they're going to manage it. Secondly, the track layout for the Singapore Grand Prix is not as similar to Zandvoort or Hungary, because those tracks, they had more of these slow to medium speed sections where the cars had to be efficient in those particular conditions. Singapore is slightly different because Singapore is filled with traction zones where the stress is more on how the car gets out of a corner. And of course, there are a few slow to medium sections and there are direction changes, but that's not primarily where the lap time is won. There are areas where you can push flat out, and it's not necessarily a cut copy paste of what we saw in Hungary or in Zandvoort, where the Red Bull was nowhere close to McLaren. And finally, I think this is the most important thing. Since last season, Red Bull has closed the gap on McLaren at almost every track in the second half of the year. Now, if you remember, Red Bull's struggles truly surfaced in the second half of last season. It was essentially tracks like Zandvoort, Monza, Baku, where Max was nowhere close to the podium. This season, on almost all these tracks, Red Bull has closed the gap on McLaren. And even at Singapore, we can expect the trend to continue. Now, what is the realistic expectation? Because I think it is very important. Well, I won't be picking Max Verstappen to win the race. That's not my pick. I think it is still, McLaren should still have the edge. But should Max be at least a podium contender? I think that's certainly on the table. And if something like that is on the table, and you can add that rain could potentially play a factor in the race, as has been the forecast, it's still all to play for. And if you're a Max Verstappen fan, do not count him out just yet for this weekend. We might be in for at least a podium for the driver and maybe better. Who knows? So that's my view. Let me know what you guys think.